and welcome to another Biddle. February 2nd of 2019. How's everybody doing?
Doing good, doing good.
Great.
Good.
Thanks.
Warmer.
Excellent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Well, warmer today. It wasn't this morning. Holy cow.
Reached almost 60 today here.
Wow,
Well, they say
nice.
it's going to reach that here.
Yeah.
Or
We're
close
supposed to get in the 50s.
I think we're going to get to the
60
40s, so
Kelvin?
I'll take it.
I don't know how you do it, Dan.
It's okay.
All right. This week we had a distro challenge of Parrot OS. And I don't know, from the sound of the Telegram group chat this week, I don't know how well it went. So we'll just go through the list. And PZ said he might be late, so I'm going to wait for his. He did give me his feedback, but I'm going to wait till last, so hopefully he shows up by then. All right. Chris, did you get to try it?
Yes, I tried it, although I forgot about Telegram. I'm sorry about that. I tried it on a VM on actual hardware. I tried both Mate and the KD. And overall, I kind of like the Mate version a little bit better. Main thing, I was constantly saying, why does this exist? Because it seems like it was just someone who wanted to make a fancy version of Mint or Ubuntu. One of the things that I always hated about Ubuntu was where they placed the window dressing, the close. I still can't get used to having the close on the left hand side, but that's that's minor. That's and one of the reasons why I hate Apple OS also. But the other thing I kind of didn't like was the command prompt. It was a 2-line prompt. I think that's a waste of a line, really. Even though it had an interesting status, it would give you a full path in the prompt. As a default, having 2 lines for a prompt is just, I don't like that. You have 43 lines. Give me 43 lines. Don't give me 42 and then have everything else scroll up. Operationalized, it wasn't anything spectacular. It didn't really didn't speed anything up. It didn't slow anything down. It was a pretty good run of the mill distro. I mean, other than looking pretty and renaming a couple things, I didn't really see a reason to change from whatever I was using already.
Well, I guess the idea of it is the security of it and the penetrating testing of it. That just happens to be the home version of that distro. So, I mean, there is a reason for it. I don't know if there's a reason for a home user to switch to it, but it sounds like it wasn't bad. I mean,
no, I wasn't. I didn't have any horrible experiences. It picked up a obscure Wi-Fi card and let me connect to a Wi-Fi network without a problem, and it worked just fine on my wired network as well. So,
very nice. All right, Matt, did you get to try Parrot?
I did not get a chance to try Parrot. Unfortunately, I've been messing around trying to figure out why my Mac Pro decides to spit and sputter, which I finally figured out. So that was pretty much most of my week.
Matt, you're not participating in these distro challenges. What's going on?
Almost like I have to work and stuff, Rob.
Almost like you got a real life. Don't have any time for distro challenges. All right, Visanth, welcome to Biddle.
Yeah.
And did you get to try out Parrot OS this week or no?
I watched one of your previous videos, and I thought Rosa Linux was this week's challenge, and I tried it. But I have used Parrot OS in the past.
And what's your take on Parrot OS? Is it worth using or?
Now, my point is Parrot OS is a security operating system most widely used by hackers. Mm-hmm. And it uses the Mate desktop environment. The point is as Mr. Chris has said, the one key point for others to switch to Parrot OS is its security programs. It comes with a ton of security applications, pen testing applications built in. But the point is, there is an operating system named Kali, and it does better than Parrot. In all sorts of ways, Kali is better than Parrot.
Okay. Well,
Kali
maybe.
uses the... Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you please go ahead.
Well, maybe we will have a discussion sometime on the differences of Kali and Parrot and the pros and cons of both of them.
Yeah. Basically, Kali Linux mainly does not focus on building its own hacking tools and scripts. But Parrot, basically, they have a lot of their own scripts, their own builds, which are only available in Parrot OS. Now, as far as majority is concerned, most of the hackers today use Kali Linux rather than Parrot OS. And just as...
Hold on. Scott,
yeah.
I'm sorry, but your audio is still freaking out, man. Sorry, brother.
Maybe
All right, go ahead. Sorry to interrupt you, Visay.
Yeah. So actually, as Chris said, the two lions in the terminal, actually, they are just a waste of space. Other than that, I don't have any problem with Parrot. It works good. I used it for a few months as my workstation operating system. I mean, my main daily operating system. It was good, except some packages were old. I don't know whether Parrot uses the separate repositories or it has, it uses the Debian repositories, but I don't see a specific need to have an operating system. Have another operating system even after having Kali Linux, which is used by most hackers and pen testers.
All right, Dan, what do you think of Parrot OS?
Yeah, I tried our feathered friend home edition there in the KDE Plasma variety, and it wasn't bad, but I don't know. There was, as others will probably note here, there was some issues with networking in particular, and I don't know if it was trying to containerize itself or what exactly was going on, but there were times where Firefox would not really connect well to things. But as far as the look and feel, I guess it looks okay. The icon theme was cool and stuff. So, but
the install went okay.
The install seemed to go okay. I didn't seem to have any problems with that. But I don't know. There was something weird going on with it. I didn't have a lot of time to check it out, but I did play around with it a little bit.
Well, hearing about Mozilla, that was one of the themes in the Telegram group that people were having issues with. So, Barb.
Okay, I use. In fact, I think I was the one who had suggested Parrot. In fact, a while ago, I had used 4.2, no 4.0 and 4.1, and had no problems, and it worked really well and everything. And then I tried. This was 4.5. And I had problems with Firefox. I could not connect remotely to my work email or file server, anything like that. I couldn't connect to work, which to me is a must. So it wouldn't let me do that. All I got was a white screen, and it just kind of sat there. In terms of how it functions, basically, it was good. When I had tried to put it on, at least an earlier version, I think it was 4.2. I tried to put on my Dell XPS 13, and it wouldn't see the network card. I had never had that problem with it before. And so I didn't even bother. I put it on. The first thing I put it on this time was a ThinkPad W550S, and it did all sorts of squirrely things and did not like my NVIDIA graphics card, because that one has the two graphics cards.
Right.
So that was a problem. And that just did very squirrely things. So I put it on, I installed it on the T420 ThinkPad. Installed perfectly, no problems, anything. My real big issue with it was Firefox. And I didn't have a chance to get around to like deleting Firefox and reinstalling it. That might have solved the problem. I think it probably had something to do with the containerizing or the sandboxing, as they call it. I think that's where the problem came in. But if I had had the time to fix that, it probably would have worked. I used the Mate version, of course. And I mean, I like it, but I'm going to go back to Ubuntu Mate, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. Wait, well, this is based off of Debian, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's
I take
Debian
it
testing.
had. Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah,
Did
it
it have-
Debian testing.
Does anybody know what driver version it had for the NVIDIA?
I didn't check that. I have an Intel, so.
Yeah, that's why I put it
NVIDIA
on the
NVIDIA
420 and it didn't, no problem.
All right. Peter.
I'm surprised that Barb didn't give it high praise for running Mate.
No, the Mate worked perfectly. And oh, by the way, if you didn't like the buttons on the left, go into the Mate tweak and you can move them to the right.
I did. So, Rocco, Parrot OS was squawking all week, and it's still alive.
He was waiting all week for that, wasn't he?
Yes.
Not while I take a sip of
I
coffee,
don't,
okay?
I don't- I
Please.
don't think it's from Norway. Okay, installed fine on my Dell testing machine, no problem. Pardon me. So what did it install? It was a good Debian distro. Barb's going to hate me here because I didn't like Mate. I've never really liked Mate, so I changed it over to XFCE.
That's okay. I don't take offense.
I did look at some of the testing apps, and I had no clue what half of them did. But it is a pen testing distro, so that's fair enough. By the way, I was told by a friend of mine here in Lexington that actually is a pen tester, and he uses Parrot. He actually uses it every day in his work. So that's his distro of choice for pen testing.
Peter, you didn't happen to ask him if he would use something else like Kali?
I didn't get that long a chance. So it was more a passing conversation.
Right.
So, but as a distro, it was fine. I didn't do a lot of networking, so I didn't try SSHing or remote desktops or anything. I didn't try that. But as a desktop, it seemed fine. The only thing I would really improve Parrot, though, and I've been thinking about this all week, was if it had Budgie desktop. Parrot with Budgie.
I'm going to leave that one alone. I'm not even.
Did I get along? Did I actually get along?
Picky, picky, picky.
Well, you could throw Hannah Montana on there if you wanted to.
There you go. There you go.
All right. Anything else, Peter?
That's it.
All right. Big Pod, you're up.
Okay, I did try out the Parrot OS, but it was in a virtual machine. I didn't find anything bad with it, except that terminal was driving me mad. Just too fancy for me. That's my issue. Not usage of 2 lines. I can take that, but being fancy, that's my problem. Also, the buttons on the left, and yes, I know you can switch them. I used Mate before, and I know you can switch them, but the way I check the distros is how they're set by default. That means default programs, default configuration. So buttons on the left have always bothered me. Other stuff, programs that are installed are okay in my opinion, and I loved that chess app, and I can't stop playing chess. Keep playing even now, even though I lose all the time.
All right.
So if you
But otherwise,
back line with the pawn, do you bring down the firewall or?
otherwise, yeah. There are some cryptography applications which you don't find normally in the distros, and since this is more secure operating system, I don't understand they are there and why they are there, and I think it's good they are there. There was another thing I wanted to compliment, but I forgot what it is. I guess it wasn't that important.
Well, I guess the question is a regular home user is not going to use the pen testing version of it.
Yeah.
So they would probably use the home version of it. And the question then is, does it have anything that would attract a home user to use?
Software is pretty standard, like you find in most distros, so I don't think anything that could draw normal user. Maybe someone more aware of what's happening around the web, but that guy could already made it himself. So again, it's not that attractive to such user.
Right. All right, Colin, you're up.
Well, I've been a little bit all over the place this week, Rocco. I tried Parrot OS early in the week. That was the KDE one. Tried to install NVIDIA and absolutely blew it up. And so that was that. So I decided to put it on my low-spec laptop with the Mate version and tried it on there. I haven't had any issues doing searches and stuff on Firefox like everyone else is saying. So whether I haven't gone far enough into it or not, I'm not really sure about that. But I'm not really keen on their Mate implementation, to be honest. It seems to be a bit restricted. I don't think anyone does Mate better than Ubuntu Mate themselves, really. But I didn't really find it, like you said, for newer users, really. I think it's a specific use case, I'd have to think. Didn't really do much for me. Works okay. Didn't have any problems. The only problem I did have was at one stage I rebooted and it told me I had no operating system. So now I think that happened after I run the live disk again after I installed it, because it's got a live option, and it happened after that. So that was a bit weird. I don't know whether the live actually breaks down everything after you run that. I'm not really sure. That was weird. So I had to reinstall late last night to actually have it up and running for today's show, just to see, make sure it was all running. I tried to do that. It's got the options for the HUD and all that, but those options don't work. So I don't know what the deal is there. Whether
that may be because it's I don't know what version of Mate it is, but that may be in a later version. I don't know. Right.
Okay. Because I was trying all those things and trying to repanel everything, and it seems to be a little bit restricted there as well. So it works okay. It's not a problem. Once it's installed, it's running. It works fine, but didn't really do much for me, to be honest.
Well, let's set the thing straight here for a little bit, that none of us went into this thinking that this was the operating system for all new users to switch to, or all
no, true.
To switch to. Yeah, it's just something we're trying. So it is for a specific use case. It's just the way it is. All right, Joe.
Okay, first off, my grandkids, I don't know if they've left or not, so in case if they do scream, hopefully they don't do that. But
we've heard it before, Joe.
These parrots repeat themselves. This might not be worth mentioning. But anyway, I found kind of the
same. Boy, are we pithy tonight.
I thought the terminal was a little odd with the two lines. But one of the things, even on the install, you go in there and there's live mode, and then there's the whole list, and you get second from the bottom, I think, is where the installer is at, which I thought that was a little odd, because if you want to install it, you would think you want.
Yeah, and all the languages listed there. Yeah.
I had a few issues with it. I'm looking at it here because, as I always do, I always bring a laptop, and I thought it's nice, it's pretty, it's snappy. It's not, in my opinion, it's not a new user distro by any means. It's rather complicated and confusing. I did have the similar things with some network issues, particularly with the.
Did you get my charger out of my room for this laptop?
What's that?
It's be careful with it. It's plugged into the extension thingy.
I'm sorry. I'm
all right, go ahead, Jeff.
Okay. Well, the printer, it says either start service or connect, which brings up local host. So I put the IP in or whatever. I couldn't get a printer to connect for life of me. It seemed like everything was 10 more steps than just
lockdown.
What's that?
lockdown.
Well, yeah, I think the system is almost over lockdown as far as I'm concerned with how it's set up. Even when installing, the installing went pretty decent, but I thought the final setup seemed to take longer than it probably should, which that's not a big deal. Initial boot up seemed to take longer than would be expected too. The other thing too is it seems like no matter what I'd open up, there's always these pop-ups. It seems like every time you turn around, you had to keep re-entering your password. And I understand when you're looking at security, but it's like, when is, like Mate, yeah, I'm not on it now, I'm on Mint still, but I mean, Mate, you enter it in and you're done and you do your updates. It's there once and it's over with. Not every single time you got to do something out here. And this seemed more excessive than most. What's the other thing? I had a couple things. Oh, like the license agreement up in the corner. I don't know why they feel that that's necessary to have that up there too. Like I said, it did seem very clean. I don't think it's necessarily a bad distro. I didn't spend probably a ton of time in it.
What is the licensing agreement?
What's that?
What is the licensing agreement you're talking about?
It's basically the Linux, the GNU Linux agreement that's up here, up in the corner. I don't know if you can see it. But when, if it's closed out, it's an icon on the desktop. And by the way, this is obviously it's the KDE version. Sorry. I figured, I've got a familiarity with Mate, but I wanted to try something different. And I tried the KDE version. And KDE, the Plasma, I mean, obviously we've talked about that before with Ubuntu and things where there's probably more features or it's over featured, and that's what I feel this kind of was. The browser overall worked pretty well, but there were some things in there that seemed like it would get a little glitchy with it too, like it was thinking long or whatever. But is it for me? No, it's not something that I think I would do. The other thing I noticed too about the network real quick is I had some drop-offs this week. I had a tech out here, and he spent a good hour out here, and we were talking a lot of geek using the computers, so it was great. But he's recommended using the 5 gigahertz network on here, which I used to use a lot, and they both have their trade-offs. But this didn't even pick up the 5 gigahertz, which is my stronger signal at all.
I'm on my Linux chat.
And they can hear us?
I'm muted.
Thank you.
Ow.
All right. Anything else, Joe?
That's it for me. So
okay. Tyler.
I did not get a chance to try Parrot throughout the week.
Okay. Dig it, Michael.
I got to check it out in a VM. I checked out both Mate and the KDE. I didn't really see a whole lot that stood out on either of those. The KDE, I tried to. I don't think Zeb is here, so I'll go on and mention that he and I were chatting earlier in Telegram, and he was having a tough time finding the way to switch the button over to the right. And I gotta say, it's very unintuitive in KDE how you actually go and drag the button like that. But we figured that out. But he could not. He was having an issue with a symlink to Thunderbird messages. So I don't know what was going on there. Probably I figured it was either the ownership of the symlink or it was something to do with that lockdown thing that we, have all been talking about. But I didn't get a chance to really use it much myself.
All right. Well, again, you were part of that conversation with the Firefox thing. I don't think any of us came up with a solution of why that is, but obviously it didn't happen to everybody. Like Colin didn't happen to. So I don't know what was going on with that.
I wonder though, with that, with the issue with Firefox, if we had and I didn't have a chance to test it, uninstall it and then reinstall it and see if that made a difference. Because when I had used it before, I could get, when it was an earlier version of Firefox and the earlier version of Parrot, I was able to get to my work email. I was able to get in and remotely and everything I needed there. And I couldn't this time, but I didn't get a chance to reinstall Firefox.
Yeah, and the other thing,
so it might be something like that.
Yeah, the other thing I didn't try either is sometimes IPv6 for me on a Debian distribution, it just hangs up. So I didn't try disabling that. That's something that I often try. to get that fixed, but I didn't have a chance to get that either.
Yeah, Dan, that you mentioned that, I didn't look at that, but that's one of the first things I do on my distros is go in there and make sure you disable that, because they say that kind of causes more problems on most distros than it does.
Yeah, it varies for me. Debian is one that it really, throws a wrench in.
Yeah.
All right, Yannick, you are up.
Yeah, I didn't have a chance to test Parrot this week. I got a new toy to play with. So.
What'd you get?
A 3D printer.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
Fancy.
Did you use it yet?
Sorry?
Did you use it yet?
Yeah.
What's the first thing you did?
A Pikachu.
Little tip I've heard from other people who have 3D printers is 3D print replacement parts for it.
Yeah, I did that.
Okay.
Just after the Pikachu, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to say a Biddle logo.
That would be awesome, huh?
Print some 3D keys and send them to Thomas.
What?
I told him to print some 3D silent keys and send them to you.
Okay.
I might need them.
All right, Steve, did you get to try Parrot?
No, instead I was enjoying being a sysadmin for my son.
Nice. What's the scoop lately? What's he working on now? World domination?
Well, he actually, we had 2 Raspberry Pis that we have set up. One we think we might have fried, but we'll see. And we were setting them up to be servers and to serve web pages and things. And so he had his wisdom teeth all yanked, and he decided that C++ was too difficult to do while you're recovering from
pretty much anything is too hard to do while you're recovering from that.
Well, instead he decided to learn HTML and CSS and create a website. So that's cool.
Probably must choose more useful.
That's dedication for you.
Sure
did
is.
you use the SD storage, or did you use a external storage, like a network storage?
We actually had external USB hard drive hooked up to the Raspberry Pi. But they're old Pis, so you have to boot off of the SD card first because they're first gen Pis.
Yeah, but booting it off the SD card isn't bad. It's when you're hitting it hard with the requests.
They're pretty sensitive.
Yep. All right, Thomas, you try Parrot?
Yes, I did. And I actually did something with Parrot that I don't typically do with distros. I actually installed it on real hardware for once.
Wow. And?
So I had no issues with the installation.
What did you install it on?
I have a desktop over here. It has a Core i3-2130, dual core with hyperthreading at 3.2 gigahertz, I think. 12 gigabytes of DDR3 RAM, and a 5400 RPM 1 terabyte hard drive. So I installed it there, and it detected the PCIe Wi-Fi card that I have, which is pretty common, but you never know because it's a obscure Wi-Fi card. But it worked perfectly fine out of the box. I did not have any issues with Firefox. Granted, I wasn't on Firefox for very long because it was literally just to go download VirtualBox. And speaking of downloading and installing VirtualBox, I noticed that they had GDebi installed by default, and that made me very happy because I know with distros based on Ubuntu 18.04 that they have issues, but I wasn't sure with things that were based on newer versions of Debian. Notice I pronounced it right for once.
You did? You did?
So I wasn't sure whether or not it would actually work, and it did. So I was elated with that. The terminal having those 2 lines, I actually kind of like it because it looks cool, and it's a little bit more verbose, and I prefer things being just slightly more verbose than usual. But overall, I can understand why it takes up more space and people not like that. The one thing that bugged me was Mate, the version I was trying, you have 2 application menus, one at the top left and one at the bottom left. And that bugs me. Like, why do you need 2? Why not just have 1? Also, after I installed VirtualBox, I actually had to completely reboot just to have the icon pop up in the menus. So I don't know if it was just my installation or if that's an actual bug with their version of Mate or something like that. But that was an issue I experienced. Other than that, very stable. I have used Parrot before, and I tried the pen testing version beforehand, and I haven't messed with it much. I actually dabbled in pen testing at one point, and I noticed not much difference between Kali and Parrot. Granted, I didn't get very far into pen testing. So, yeah. Overall, it's probably going to stay on the desktop over here for a little while, considering I needed that VirtualBox installation so I could crank out a new version of Draugr OS, which I will rant about later if you want me to. But I needed that VirtualBox, and it's already all set up, and I'm going to need it here in another week or two. So, why go ahead and redo all that? But overall, it was pretty good.
That's awesome.
Wait, did you just say you wanted to rant about your own distro?
That's what he said.
Yes, I will wait until everybody gets done with their reviews of Parrot. This is a good
At some
rant.
point, we may ban you from talking about it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you do, that's fine. But
Today's not the day, but
that's fine. But this little name thing right here ain't changing.
Make that a distro challenge.
I can change that, but we won't.
I mean, I'm not going to make it anything obscene, at least.
All right. Ivan, welcome to Biddle.
Thank you.
I seen you join the Telegram group as well.
Yes,
That's awesome.
you did.
All right. Did you end up trying out Parrot OS this week or no?
No, I haven't. And I actually love their website. I was looking into some YouTube videos about it because I had a rough week, actually, but I'm looking forward to it. I have a laptop with an NVIDIA card on it, so I don't know how well is it going to work with that, but I'll just give it a try and report back next time. Let you know.
It's all good.
How it went.
Well, just so you know, the distro challenge is not a mandatory thing every week. Not something that you have to join in. Just for us crazy people that like to torture ourselves. Just saying.
I'm just actually trying to stick to KDE at the moment because I was distro hopping for about a year or so. And I have finally got the setup that I wanted. So it's going to be everything done through VirtualBox for now, but I'm really interested in it. And I do have several friends who I know will love it. So we'll see about that.
Well, what version of KDE do you run? Like what, you run Kubuntu or?
I'm actually on Arch.
Oh, very nice. Me too.
And I haven't run into any issues for the last, it's been 4 months already. So that's really good for me. But I'm using their Manjaro version. So, well, it was easier to have it installed that way. And the thing I like about it is that ever since their last update, that thing that your whole screen after rebooting would not come out, well, that's long gone now. So I'm fairly happy with it.
Well, I was kind of scared, I have to admit, the last time that KDE updated, and there was like this huge update of all the apps, but it seemed to update well, and I didn't have a problem, so that's a plus.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, Scott, is your audio okay?
Yeah, it's just it's a Zoom issue. For some reason, Zoom keeps defaulting back to my webcam mic, which, as you know, Disney created.
Well, you do sound like Mickey Mouse when you use that mic. Just
I wish I could hear that sometime, but yeah, I just switched it back over to my headset, and it's fine now. I don't know why that doesn't save the setting. It just always defaults back. But anyway, I downloaded Parrot last week when we were talking about it as a challenge, and I was really excited to get it going. So I decided to use my desktop rig to install it, and I got a kernel panic.
Uh-oh.
So, yeah, I thought maybe it was the way I was installing it. So then I tried the standard install, kernel panic. Then I tried the GTK GUI install, kernel panic. Then the RAM install, the terminal install or mode, the failsafe mode, the live mode, all with kernel panics and all with a what it called a bad rip value. Not sure what that was all about. So anyway, I re-downloaded it and popped it onto another USB in case that was related to the USB. I'm not sure. Same thing. I got the kernel panic. So I switched it over to my 2005 laptop rig, the limited capabilities one, and it actually installed. So I ran it up, started to play with it, and about 5 minutes after looking around, the mouse touchpad stopped working, and about a minute after that, got a kernel panic.
Wow.
So I was kind of like, oh, look, a puppy. And I went on to get Netrunner, and I've been playing with Netrunner all week, so I really don't have a review.
Well,
time with that.
At least you had consistent results.
Yes,
I
exactly.
When did the Scott panic kick in? The Scott
Yeah,
panic.
right. As soon as I hit the power button.
All right. Peter, did you want to read Edward's comment?
Okay, I will do. By the way, everyone, the friend I mentioned, Ed, is actually in the YouTube chat. He's probably blushing right now. And this is what he wrote when we asked him the questions. He says, I like their interface. This is Parrot. I like their interface better. I like Mate a lot for my kind of work. And Parrot has a good-looking interface on boot up. He sets it up as a VM and remotes into that and uses it to remote into and manage servers and workstations, and uses Remina to make it super easy. Having the tools built in for collecting data on a network and keeping track of current and new devices. That's what he wrote.
Okay. He denied our request to come in.
He said he wasn't set up, so fair enough.
Yeah, I know. I just. All right. James, what up?
Howdy. How you guys doing? Can you hear me?
Oh, we can. We can.
So if you hear kids screaming in the background, we are not torturing them.
Okay. Well, we did hear it. I muted you a couple times.
You could hear it?
Yeah, I could hear it.
Oh, man, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
I thought I had my mic muted.
But anyway, you of course swapped or distro hopped from Solus to Parrot, obviously this week, right?
No, I did not.
No,
But,
no.
I
Did you
did
even try it?
reinstall. I did reinstall Solus. So.
One of these weeks, we're going to get you to try the distro challenge. I don't know what it's going to take.
Oh, okay. So I did try out Rel 7. And it was horrible. Just in case you guys are all wondering.
Yeah, it sounds bad.
I actually use it at work, so it's
Yeah,
I'm
same.
always installing that. Anyways, I guess if I have any news, I'm building a snap right now. Hold on, I got kids screaming.
Stop hanging me from my toes.
It's a hostage situation. That's exactly what it is. Go to bed. We'll pay you.
The morale improves.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, I'm building a snap for Waterfox right now.
Really?
Yeah.
That would be awesome, dude.
We'll see if it works. It's the second attempt, so we'll see what happens. But that's about all the news I've got for this week.
All right. Dig it. Well, I'm going to pass along Nate's review because he's usually the Mr. Positivity there on everything. So what he likes the overall theme. The interface is crisp, has a kind of raw, efficient feel to it, is what he said. And I'm paraphrasing and I'm skipping views so that it's not too long. But he likes the fact that Parrot OS includes the Tor browser by default. In a state that it's ready to use without any kind of messing around with it. The default application selection is fine with a few extra things there. He said he would tailor it to his own needs anyway, so it doesn't really matter what the default applications are, I guess. He does say what he doesn't like is using Mate tweaks. He changed from GNOME 2 to Fedora, but he couldn't get the layout back to the default Parrot OS look. I don't know. In the tweaks, isn't there an option, you Mate users, Barb, I think, to save the current theme?
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm,
you can.
I'm wondering if Parrot is not set up to do that, or... I mean, because you would think if you're going to make the distro, you would save your layout, automatically in the distro, so that if somebody did switch, they could get back to it.
Yeah, I think you have to go into the themes, the look, whatever, and you can, however you've got it set up, you just save that as custom, and it should be fine. The same thing with the panels. You save the panels and tweak.
It's in Mate tweak, but I had the same problem. I went from Fedora to GNOME 2 or GNOME 2 to Fedora. I think they got 2 preset panel layouts, but I think I couldn't get back to the other one. I tried adding indicator applets as well, but just kept saying there's no indicators. So
is there no revert back to default DM or WM?
No, but that's why I said you would think that the people at Parrot, or the guy, I don't know how many developers are there, just one. I don't know how many are on this, but you would think that they would save their layout as a thing there, so you could go back to it.
Yeah, the other thing is that what I noticed was they didn't have all the little indicators and applets and stuff that you can stick up on the top and the panel, either top or bottom, wherever you like to put it. Didn't have some of the ones that normally I see in Mate. So that was the sleep one. I love that little guy. And stuff like that. Well, some of it I realize is specifically to Ubuntu Mate. So that could be it.
And what else did he say? The zipper tells you what package out of how many is working in such a way that okay. All right, final thoughts. In the end, he had a pretty good time with Parrot OS, aside from a few paper cut issues with the interface. So would he switch from OpenSUSE to Parrot? Of course not. Mr. OpenSUSE himself would
never switch.
But I am going to post the link in the YouTube chat so that you can read Nate's article on his website about what he thinks of it.
And Ed says you can save your themes in Parrot Mate.
Yeah. Right. But if you think about it before you switch.
Right, that's what I was going to say. That's the problem. If you switched already, you're out of luck.
Yep, that's why I think the Parrot guy should build that in, like just save it as a theme so that you don't have to remember.
Rocco, just to intervene there a bit, I just went back to GNOME 2 because I'm running it now, but what happens is it doesn't give you the standard brisk menu in the bottom left-hand corner, which is what it boots with, right? So there's a couple of things. It does revert back to GNOME 2, but not exactly what it was when it booted.
Right.
So that's a little bit odd.
All right, well, it looks like Zeb may not make it at all, so he sent me his list of things. His first thing was, okay, Parrot OS, here we come.
You know how it's going to happen.
You know what he's going to say. It's a 4-letter word.
Epic fail on live install. Huge install window and no way to shrink it. Installer from boot, no Ethernet card found. Next.
There you go.
But he did try it again, and one last try, re-downloaded the KDE version, checked the MD5, finally got Parrot OS installed. App image is not working. When I choose a flamin' UK keyboard. Okay, I won't read the rest.
You're not substituting any
I may be substituting things.
Did Zeb use some of my language, Rocco?
No, I mean it wasn't really bad, but I mean I'm not going to continue on. So he was next. That's what Zeb's.
And next,
yeah,
that's Zeb's every.
You understand it anyway.
I see Ned was very irritated this morning about the button not moving because he didn't actually realize you had to go drag the button.
Well, in Parrot's defense, that's not a Parrot issue. That's a KDE issue.
Oh, I know.
So, some of that, and again, that happens every week when we review distros. That a lot of times we'll talk about things, and some of the things may have nothing to do with the actual distro that we're testing. It may be the desktop environment. It may be the underlying base of 1804 or whatever it may be based off of. So not everything we say about the distro is related to or specifically at fault for what's going on.
Yeah, one thing.
I was going to say, if you don't mind, I want to cut in for a second. There's a friend of mine in the chat. She's going to strangle me for pointing her out. But I sent her my wife's. I mentioned this a while back. I sent her my wife's old laptop with PEP 7 or 8 on it, and she liked it. And then I thought, oh, she'll maybe like more Windows-like environment. So I sent her Mint. And recently she goes, well, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but I really liked Peppermint. So I sent her Peppermint 9, walked her on a live stream through the install. And she does phenomenal. That's Harley woman that's in the chat. That's Dawn. She's a friend of mine. She's a really nice lady. And I'll tell you what, give her a lot of credit, but she's a converted Linux lady and she absolutely loves it. And I mean, she uses, like everybody else, her Windows for what she needs to. But she's on her Linux laptop all the time now. So Zeb,
nice.
Too bad you're not here to hear that, buddy. She's a pep lead.
Well, she's more than welcome to join us on Bill. And
she won't do that. I'll tell you that right now.
Just saying.
Thank you, though. Yeah.
And Das Geek is in the house. Did you know he uses Arch, by the way?
He can't help himself.
All right. Any other comments, people? Anything else anybody would like to say about Parrot OS?
Yeah, just with the Plasma version, just Plasma itself. If it's got K-Wallet, I'm very annoyed. I'm not keen on something popping up when I'm trying to put in a password or whatever. If I wanted to use it, I would use it. I don't know if that's a Plasma default thing, because it does happen in some Plasmas and some it doesn't, or it's an OS default. I'm not sure.
I know in Fedora Plasma, it got annoying to the point where it's like when the wallet came up, I'd just go and kill the app.
The K-Lot mention reminds me of the time I tried to install OpenSUSE Verse and I encrypted the hard drive. So it would ask me to log in twice before I ever got to the point where I actually logged into the OS. Then I'd log into the OS, and then I'd log into K-Wallet.
Talk about password.
Needless to say, I did not stick with that install long, and I quickly redid the install without the encryption, at least.
I had something similar once on. I had a very bad desktop of mine. I had a BIOS password. I had an encrypted hard drive, and I had the password. And my passwords tend to be egregiously long. And
not as long as Michael Tennell.
I mean, knowing him, it's probably like 100 characters.
Yes, it's usually like 100 characters. Over sometimes.
120, isn't it?
128, I think is what he said one time.
Well, we know that once quantum computers become popular, he won't be getting hacked.
That makes reboots tough.
Oh, it does.
Prophetic.
What's up, everybody?
Sorry, Thomas.
Oh, that's all right.
Prophetic.
Okay?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Prophetic. Testing.
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're a little low, brother. I'm just messing with you.
Yeah, you're a little low, but you're there.
So, I coming from the Umix challenge and then coming from this challenge, it was cool to see a nice wallpaper default. That was nice.
Savage.
Default. I mean, it's nice.
That just goes to show you how bad the Umix default wallpaper was.
Oh, that was awful.
Just saying.
It was cringy because like traffic, like your immediate thought of like anxiety and commute.
It was awful.
And I'm running Umix. I love Umix. I'm still running Umix. I switch back between Arch Plasma and Umix, and I love it. But the default wallpaper was terrible.
Yeah.
Funny you mentioned the wallpaper though. On the Plasma version, it was just the default Plasma wallpaper.
Yeah.
It wasn't Parrot themed.
Oh, I should say I used Mate version.
Right. The Plasma version was just the default Plasma, but the other ones were there. They just weren't selected, which was kind of weird.
Wow.
So I like that, and then I was also appreciative of like again the tools. Like the cool thing about doing these challenges is you get to learn all these tools that normally you don't get exposed to, and so I messed around with Zulu Crypt. And that got me going into other types of file encryption and folder encryption and that kind of thing. And it worked like a charm. And the only problem I had was this Firefox sandboxing issue and weird keyboard input wouldn't take certain things. And again, it just could have been me. It could have been my system, but it was just a little cumbersome to use when it came to Firefox. And I just didn't get around to just installing it fresh from the repository or somewhere else. So I got rid of it, but I used a little bit for this whole week, and it was just I don't know, it's cool to get exposed to different tools that you didn't know existed that might be overkill for most users, but to know that they exist, and if you really needed something, you have a reference point. So overall, it's pretty good.
Right. Very nice. Very
well,
nice.
Can I say one more thing? You talk about wallpapers. Umix's wallpaper looks like fine art compared to Windows 7. So
yeah,
I don't know. I'd have to.
That ugly blue with whatever that little drawings were.
I don't know. Umix was pretty bad, dude.
I don't know that black with a lot of red lines.
Yeah.
Even Matt doesn't like the wallpaper. That's pretty bad.
To tell you the truth,
yeah, that's true. That's a lot said.
I like the photos that they use in Windows 10, but it's kind of neat with the RSS feed or whatever they're using to update the pictures. But I mean, it's not really necessary other than making it look pretty.
Pretty's nice, though. I like pretty.
Yeah, but it's putting lipstick on a pig. I mean, well, here's the difference.
We have this age-old debate of functionality versus pretty. And if you ask me, I mean, I know that everybody, half of the people, most of the people will probably say functionality, but I think we should be able to have both.
Yes.
I think that is just as important. Like some people don't care anything about the way it looks, and as long as it runs good, that's great. They can use, the blandest looking thing out there. But I think that in the Linux community, we have such options that we should care about what it looks like, not just for us, but for everybody. And I think that we have the opportunity to have it, so why not? Prove me wrong, Chris. Prove me wrong.
I agree with you, but if it comes down between form over substance, I'm going to take substance every time. I'm an old command line person. I mean, I started getting into the reminiscing about the VAX and the PDP. That's where I come from. But
Chris, you're the reason why we can't have nice things.
I thought that was me.
No, I totally agree with you that substance is definitely. I mean, you have to have it.
Yes,
but you can have. You can also have that aesthetically pleasing thing. I mean, I kind of came from the world of IBM. EM360, 370 stuff back in the dark ages. It was really black. It was all text. I like pretty pictures, or I consider
which Black on Amber or whatever. Yeah, I mean, we've grown up from that.
We should start a Make Linux Beautiful Again.
Let's do it, Yanni.
It's a great sticker.
I would also like to say, though, that part of it is also the code optimization. If you have animations and things like that, and you don't write the code well, you can put a lot of strain on your GPU and CPU. And at that point, it doesn't matter how functional it is if you can't get work done because the aesthetics is in the way.
Enlightenment.
I was thinking not just
wobbly windows.
I was thinking not just enlightenment in Windows. I was also thinking, let's see, KDE and elementary. Yeah, I can go on.
There's nothing wrong with wobbly windows.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with wobbly windows.
They irk me.
Wobbly windows get in the way.
As long as I can disable them.
Exactly.
I mean,
if you're gonna have
obviously-
wobbly windows, turn it down.
Hold on. Not everybody can talk at once. One at a time.
Wobbly
Go ahead.
windows are for hypnotizing your children and your friends.
That's a good point.
But I have to say that wobbly windows are best done in KDE.
Yeah.
Their standard, like their default setting for the wobbly windows is perfect.
It's really good.
I don't know. I don't know, but I find wobbly windows in Compass are a lot more smoother. I don't know whether it's limited to my GPU or whether it happens to everybody. But Kwin, the wobbly windows, they are there. I use them every day, but I don't find them as smooth as what Compass has done. And when I try to force Compass in KDE, the panels just disappear, and I got nothing.
Yeah, they don't go together well.
Honestly, my thing with just animations in general, especially with like the windows enlarging and shrinking and all that, is I don't want any animations. I want my window there, and I want it now. I don't want to have to wait the extra half a second to a second or whatever for that animation to play out. Especially when I'm doing something that's really resource intensive in the background, because there are times when I need to be doing something really fast, because if I don't, then my resources can get hogged and my computer will crash. And it's uncommon, but as a developer, it does happen.
Actually, I find that there are two kinds of people: one who categorize themselves as developers, and one who categorize themselves as normal day-to-day computer users who use computers not for computing but for their purposes. Like they're not going to work on computer to improve computers. They're going to do their own stuff with it. So people who are like that, they might find aesthetically pleasing interfaces more attractive, and they might use those. But for computer nerds and guys, it is like we require speed because we work a lot on computers. But for somebody who is who just uses an internet browser every day just to watch some YouTube videos and shuts it down, they might want. Yeah, they might. I was actually having a similar discussion with Big Pod in the DistroTube live stream that happened, and I wish there. Ultimately, I wish there was a deep-in desktop environment, because it looks absolutely gorgeous and it is user-friendly for both Mac users as well as Windows users because of its panel switching. And I know I can do that. I can do the same thing in GNOME desktop environment with the dock to panel extension. But the problem is, you got to use some extensions. You got to use some plugins to get this thing working on other desktop environments, whereas Deepin does it by default. The only single problem I have with Deepin is it's hard to compile Deepin on your own. I know Manjaro does it. I know Antergos does it. I have been using the original Deepin operating system as well as Manjaro Deepin for years. And the only problem that I find with Deepin is their limited customizability and hard to compile code.
Yeah, and
I wish Deepin was a Western software, because I don't believe Chinese. I believe in Western people. They are a lot better at making softwares like this. But I don't know. I don't have trust in Chinese after having that tracker in the Deepin store.
I was going to say, I wouldn't have much more trust in the Western end of things. Given
We haven't been exactly trustworthy.
Remind me where Google is from.
Yeah, considering Microsoft. Actually,
Yeah.
we had a discussion that if you're somebody who is using already Google and Microsoft, any of the products from Google and Microsoft, then you need not worry about using Deepin operating system, because Deepin tracks a lot less than what Google does and what Microsoft does. So, if you're using already proprietary softwares, then already you're giving out your private information. And Deepin doesn't make any big changes to that. It just collects some basic data through the store. But being a Linux user, I expect that there is at most privacy to my computer. So such trackers and such type of things may work in other operating system, other environments, but not in Linux.
Yeah, but in Deepin's defense, after the hubbub of QuibSub's video that calls it spyware and call the tracker whatever you want, they yanked it out anyway, so it's not even in the store anymore.
My question, if Deepin has actually yanked it out, is why haven't they posted officially that they have indeed yanked it out? They did post anything.
They did. Yeah, they did. Yep.
It might just got buried by this point. Because
you can also check. You should be able to check the source code as well, since somewhere. But going back to the discussion about like design and functionality, I do believe that you can have both, like as Rocco said. And when people have this debate, it's like a false dichotomy. Like you have to choose one or other.
No, you can have.
I completely agree. It takes a lot of balancing.
My only thing is that like even when you say like, oh, I want my distro to be like this, and I don't care if X, Y, and Z looks like this way. There's usually like another part of your life where you actually do care about design. And when people say like, oh, functionality over design or all those things, I look at like Apple, and if you want to capture the masses in terms of market share or just cash flow, the most logical functional thing to do is to care about design. At least
yes.
Well, that's Elementary's whole thing, is that they care about the design and what it looks like.
And it's logical.
And they don't allow anybody to customize it.
Well, it's not that. There is the ability to customize it. They just don't make it easy. So they want their operating system to be used the way they designed it and not, messed around with. They want everything to look equal across the board. They want everything to function across the board. And I don't have a lot of people have a problem with Elementary because of it being locked down, but I have no problem with that whatsoever, that they have an idea of what they want to make in their operating system. And if you don't like it, there's many other operating systems to try. I think it's awesome, and I think they're leading the way along with KDE.
I'm actually a pretty good fan of Elementary OS and what they're doing. But the thing is, whenever I boot Elementary OS works fine when I have the live USB stick in. But as soon as I install, it doesn't work. The whole operating system just crashes. I've even seen kernel stack. The memory stack of the kernel. There's nothing. The kernel doesn't report anything. I don't know whether they use a separate kernel. I think they custom compile the kernel, but I don't know. It doesn't work in my system. All other Linux distributions, I don't have any problem, but Elementary, it is stuck for 15 minutes, and after 15 minutes, I don't know, it magically comes back to life. And then it's again stuck for 5 minutes, and then it comes back to life for another 5 minutes. So it's not not a usable environment anymore.
Honestly, my whole thing with Elementary personally is I want something that's configurable. And until they can publicly justify why it's not as configurable as something else, then I'm just not going to use it. And if they can give a good argument, then that's perfectly fine. And sometimes there are good arguments, and I think they do give some good arguments. I just don't know what exactly the arguments they give are, other than it's in a design thing. But personally, I want to be able to make sure it looks the way I like, because I have a specific workflow that I need my stuff to follow. And if I can't get to work like that, then I can't do it.
I think that's, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Barb.
Okay, I think that's why, for instance, why I like Ubuntu Mate, why I like the Mate desktop, because I can set it up and it stays out of my way. I don't care about wobbly windows and all that kind of stuff. Sorry, I don't want to bring that up again, but I just want it, I want to have all my little indicators that I need and any little applets. So it's just a quick click. I can use my, I'm a keyboard oriented person otherwise. And then that way I can get done what I need to get done. I don't need all the other stuff, but still aesthetically it's pleasing.
Yeah.
And that's and aesthetics.
And that's why I use XFCE, because I can get it configured to the way I want, and I can get it to do whatever I want. It's also why I have XFCE on Draugr OS, because it's configured the way I have it, so it can be more like a gaming console. But if somebody doesn't like that, they can change it to be whatever they want.
Rocco, I had messaged you in the Zoom chat. I was wondering if you wouldn't mind if I took a screenshot the other day, because we have this Linux group I belong to, and they share it every week, their desktops or whatever. And it's interesting because Mint was always stated to be ugly, and Cinnamon 19.1 I thought did a very nice job. And I like dark, desktops and things. And I actually found a wallpaper that was a little on the darker side, but colorful, but it gave it depth. And it's just, I think it's very nice. And the beauty of, we're all talking about this. I think you're right. Out of the box, they should have now. First of all, I want functionality over anything else. We could theme it whatever we want. You can't make everybody necessarily happy, but you can really make these things look beautiful. The guy that was here the other day, the service tech for my cable, came up and looked at it. He goes, "Oh, it looks just like an Apple." Well, it's not necessarily intended that way, but the way I have it, the taskbar at the top, the dock on the bottom. So I just didn't know if you'd mind if I.
Well, I would say it's okay, Joe, but it would probably mess up the stream, and I don't.
Okay,
I don't know if I'll be able to get it back, and I don't want to.
Well, I could put. You know what? I'll put it in the Telegram group.
Yeah, do that.
I think about it because it really, if you looked at this right out of the gate, other than usually I change the actual native icon too of the menu. So you don't tell. If I did that, you probably wouldn't even know that this was meant. And I love Mate too, but I have it set up just like my Mate was. And that's the beauty of being able to be in Linux, is being able to do these sorts of things. You can't do it. You get on Windows or Mac, you can't necessarily do that. So you could, you can't please everybody. But that's the nice thing is even though out of the box, if you can at least get it, like I think Cinnamon did a great job this time, it's very pleasing now. Where it was, let's call it ugly for what it was. I don't think taste anymore, and yet you could skin them any way you want. I mean,
well, Joe, I think that you're right that Cinnamon is beginning to maybe allow itself to look like a modern operating system, like a beautiful operating system. And I think that's a great part of Linux, and that's why I said I think we have the ability, the desktop environments do, to make it not only look good, but to make it functional. But Thomas, going back to your point, you're not, and Barb too as well, you're not the use case for elementary. You're not the people that they're going for, because you do want to tweak your system. So elementary is not for you, and that's why we have 100 other Linux desktops. Yes. When I say, and Rose said in the chat, leading the way elementary, she was surprised I said that, I guess. I meant leading the way in design, leading the way in showing the community that Linux can not only function but look good as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, to go with your point, Rocco, I think the two distros that do the design aspect anyway the best are elementary and, to a somewhat lesser extent, Deepin. Those are the ones that, at least for the most part, go for the consistent UI. The basics are taken care of, and that's just kind of what they're going for. Now, is there a workflow adjustment for a lot of people, especially for those of us that like to tweak and tinker and, break things and whatnot? Yeah, it's probably not meant for us. But you can't sit there. We can't sit there and be like, we don't like it. I mean, Chicken loves to tinker with things, and he sits on elementary, so it's like,
right. Well, people keep mentioning Deepin, and I don't mention it a lot when I mentioned beautiful desktops. It is, I guess, should be considered a beautiful desktop. For me personally, I didn't, and although I know a lot of people have said differently, I didn't find it intuitive to use, especially specifically in the settings area where everything is icons and there's no text. And so I'm kind of fumbling my way around through the settings when it should be simpler than that.
I think the latest iteration of Deepin was a little better. But yeah, it's not as intuitive as other.
I think they never had tooltips, but now they have tooltips now on the latest one. So that makes it a lot easier
That will be a plus.
to navigate through everything. Yeah. And I agree with what you say there, Rocco, because I think that was one of their downfalls, because you do hover your mouse and think, what is this? What is that? Because sometimes we don't all recognize icons, as in phones, for example, and emailing, and what does this arrow mean and what does that arrow mean? And, I want to forward something. Does nothing tell you what you want to do anymore? I fumble my way through emails on a phone sometimes. It's ridiculous.
I was going to say, the one thing I am glad that they did, though, is the difference, as far as Deepin is concerned specifically, is the last time we tried it anyway, when you go from the different modes that they're stacked into. Like, Fashion mode is set up more of a Windows 10-esque variety, so how the notifications and all that stuff. So people coming from that environment, I mean, they're serving a different market than us. They're chasing after the Windows 10 people in China. That's their market.
And I was going to say another thing, Rocco. I think from what I see in Linux lately, I think the way Elementary's gone, I think a lot of other distros possibly are going that way, and they're taking away and reducing all the little tweaks and so forth. And is it something that maybe that us users are struggling to accept? And so I just thought I'd bring it up as a conversation.
Yes,
but
I am struggling to accept the fact that we have less and less settings. Yes,
that's actually why I like Elementary a lot. It's because I install it and it's beautiful and it's working, and there's nowhere I can break my system. I don't tweak my system. Whatever distro I install, when I do those reviews for the challenge, I just install them and use them as they come, because that's the way I work.
It's a good point. You can't break your system, and maybe that's what, if we're trying to move forward and get people in the Linux world,
exactly.
Is that the way we need to go? Because we don't, because I think the biggest problem with Linux is you get on there and something disappears, you don't understand it, or whether because the tweak was there and people have said this is no good because I don't understand it. They're quick to criticize, I suppose. Maybe
Colin, you said about that where the tweaks, and somebody else mentioned the tweaks as well for Elementary. They decided not to install the tweaks, and you can install it, but they kind of don't want you to mess with it. And I don't blame them for not wanting us to mess with it. I don't blame them for having a vision on what they want Elementary to be. I just wish they would kind of see it as a happy medium to have it installed by default. So it's there if you want it, but
I think if it's sorry, Yannick, go on.
There are lots of distros. So if you don't like Elementary as it is out of the box, maybe you should try another DE or another distro.
Yep.
Well, see, but I think that's it, because if it's not going to cooperate with your workflow or how you want to workflow by default, most people were just going to say next, and there's not really I messed around with it a little bit, but it's not something that I like the setup of. If it was a bit more, I feel like it's a lot like a Mac, and I don't really care for the way a Mac does things a lot of times. So, it's just one of those deals. If it's not the right tool for the job, I'm going to move on to something else, especially if they're going to make it that difficult to tweak.
That's part of the reason why we use Linux, is because we can configure it how we want to, versus if we were using a Windows computer or a Mac computer, we can configure it however we want to, and having that configurability makes it so that we can have it look beautiful to us and still be functional for us.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I don't understand what the developers are trying to do. They have a very specific vision of how that's going to work. But the problem is, it doesn't work for me.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine.
That's exactly it.
And
I think we. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think I'm all for tweaking and setting desktop up the way you want it, because I'm one of those people as well. But I think that they need to just have those simple toggles that simply work. Toggle something on, toggle something off, and whatever. Make it easier for people to understand how those things work, and some sort of little blurb on what it does, or some preview or something. But I mean, yeah, because we do need. Yeah.
Well, it's a philosophy difference, Colin, because they obviously don't want you to tweak it, but I personally think that they would open themselves up to many more users if they wouldn't make it so difficult to tweak. Not that, I mean, they can still have the idea that, they don't want you to mess with it, but I think they would open themselves, even just installing the tweaks tool where you could see that in the settings somewhere, would allow people to say, oh, look at that. I can change this or that.
Yep.
And although that's probably never going to happen, and that's okay. That's perfectly okay. I'm just saying, in my opinion, I think it would be well if they did.
Do you think that the majority of users, even Linux users, though, actually want to tweak their system? Because when you see screenshots of Linux out in the wild, a lot of times it's just the default Unity, for example. Or you hear about Windows users, they never even know that you can get rid of the little box down on the bottom bar because they just never touch any of those configurations. I'm thinking that it's more of the power users like us that actually care about configuration. I think the average user, whether they're Linux or any other operating system, just uses their system and doesn't configure anything except change a wallpaper.
We're kind of a vocal minority.
Yeah,
changing the wallpaper and that kind of stuff to most people is configuring it.
Yeah.
And that's not how we're looking at it. We're looking at it as a working tool.
Because we're geeks.
Yes. Proudly. I wear that flag very
we run the world.
I have seen that a lot myself, that people who are normal users don't change a lot about their system because they don't really need to change the aesthetics. They need to use it as a tool. While power users, where most of us think of it as an extension of ourselves, because we do most of our work on it, we like to change it so it is extension of us, so we can use it however we want, whenever we want. So it works exactly for us. Unlike, for example, some secretary who just needs to type something. For her, it's just a tool. It's like that hammer in his shed. It doesn't need custom-made one just for her.
And also, sorry, go ahead.
I was real quick. I used to wonder about the options piece with GNOME. Like, why can't it just leave a lot of these things as options? Like, put a switcher somewhere, like Colin was saying. And if you do a little bit of research on design philosophy, that the more switches you put on for toggle this and toggle that, the code base gets really messy, and then it gets harder to maintain and more work to do. And
right.
The ROI for developers become, wow, we have all these users and only like 5% actually use this one thing, and we got to maintain all of it. So it's almost like a trade-off, and I'm starting to learn this more and more because I'm tie-in with Thunderbird and the UX initiative, and I'm testing out different versions of Thunderbird, older and newer, and it's like to get Thunderbird working to like what we would call a modern-day equivalent to an email client for basic user stuff. You literally have to work a little just to get it to a like basic use case scenario. And I think that goes back to, I think the new default Linux user will become more and more like the elementary user, where they just want something beautiful by default because convenience is king more and more, and that's what's going to win. And I think we're starting to see that shift. The one last thing I'll say too is that I think, and I don't know what you think, but I think plasma is the best in terms of beauty and functionality. I don't think there's any desktop environment that gives both bang on each side than that, and that's a great example that you can have both. But I submit that to you guys.
Yeah. The developer point of view, that's exactly what I was going to say. And if you receive a bug report, and the first thing you have to ask is what modification did you do before reporting this bug, and you're losing time, you're losing energy, and you don't concentrate on doing a product. And the elementary team is not very big, I think, and so they concentrate on their DE and the way they want it to be. And I understand completely what they decided to do.
Well, what you said, Prophetic, about the design philosophy and the amount of code that you have to continue to keep up is exactly why KDE has less settings than it ever had. When you think back of KDE 3.5 days and you think now of what they have in settings as far as Plasma 5, you have way less settings.
Wow.
And that is because they don't want to have to keep this amount of code base for 2% of their users that actually use this switch. Or maybe they don't even have any metrics on what users use as far as, settings are concerned. But I think maybe they go by the amount of bug reports they have or the amount of talk that is in the community about it. So they have all of this code base for this thing that they don't hear anything for or about. And it's like, why is it even there? So let's not even keep it up.
Rocco, did you see Michael's stream today at all? Because
I've seen part of it, Joe.
Yeah, toward the end of it, he was talking about Mint and some significant changes that are coming down the pike that he said he was very interested to see. He said that could make a game changer for it. And, comparing to what you said, Prophetic, about the radio buttons on and off, that's one of the things I like about Mint right now is it's much Windows-esque like that, where you can click a lot of things on and off, although it seems to be the right amount, not too many, to where you're dealing with too much stuff and too heavy. And it's just easier to find things and makes it user-friendly. And that's why, for me, this would be a great new user distro for that reason, too, is because of the ease of use with it.
I was impressed by Cinnamon's balance. They had a lot of, you could tell that it being reserved with how many options it gave you, but they gave you like enough to kind of scratch that itch with tweaking a desktop.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's nice.
Well, and
they've come a long way in that sense.
I actually
go ahead.
Yeah, I actually have an idea that I want to ask all of you your opinion, and a doubt which goes with the idea.
We can't fork Pantheon.
We can't fork Pantheon. That's right. We can't fork Pantheon, but we could make Mate, we could make Cinnamon look like Pantheon.
Can I one up you on that one real quick? That's why I think Lubuntu and Simon's being community manager of that project, or release manager rather, has a lot of potential because Qt is so modular and has so much creative potential. Doesn't
LXQT is
KDE libraries.
Yeah.
It could be. Imagine this. Imagine Lubuntu being whatever desktop environment you like, whatever workflow you like. Imagine being able to do it without the trade-off with other desktop environments. Like you like GNOME Switcher and all that stuff like that, but you don't like the processing it takes. Imagine being able to do that in Qt and be an adulterated first-class experience instead of tweaking something to make it act like GNOME. And there is some trade-off.
I think LXQT has some potential. I just think that it's not quite as modern as
it's a little young
yet.
right now.
Well, there's some big changes coming. Some of them you'll see in April.
Yeah,
that's good. I can't wait.
Box.
I'm looking forward to that.
Me too.
Yeah. So actually, my question was, other than having the bleeding edge packages released into Arch, is there anything that makes Arch not suitable for servers other than package management?
It's also a pain in the butt to install. Like, just being brutally honest here.
No,
it's a pain to install.
You are Captain Obvious right there, Thomas.
I know I am. Give me the cap and everything. I am Captain Obvious. It is much easier to install Ubuntu server or CentOS or RHEL as a server than it is to do Arch as a server. If you want,
I don't know. James might have a problem with that.
I will argue it any day. If you want to use Arch as a server, go right ahead, but do not expect people in the server community to look at you like you're saying.
No, basically, if you're talking servers, the one thing you want is stability. Rolling distros are great if you need bleeding edge on that server. If you need the latest updates to like MySQL or any of the,
or
other
if you're
stuff.
doing rendering, you definitely need.
What if we don't
a server.
update the distribution so frequently? What if we don't update it?
You're going to open yourself to.
Then you might get a lot of. Then you might have something crash on you when you do update it.
Yeah.
And even if you didn't, you're just you might leave yourself open to something that's been patched.
Yep.
Yeah, but the thing is, actually, what about Manjaro's repositories in Arch Linux? Because I seriously want my server to be Arch Linux, but there is no stable version of Arch Linux. So I seriously think there is a necessity for alternative repositories that deliberately hold back the packages, just like how Debian does, to Arch. So we could just install normally the Arch and replace the repositories in the pacman.conf, and it just works and it's a lot stabler.
But you would lose.
If you want to do something like that, go right ahead. But here's the issue with that. That is not Arch's designed utility.
It's not
Arch
made
is
for
designed Arch is designed as a desktop distro. If you want to use it on a server, go right ahead. But like I said, you're going to have, and like other people said too, you're going to have stability issues. You are going to have the most bleeding edge software, of course, but you might have to do some weird sort of configuration just to get it to do something on like a dual CPU server. I bet you it could probably work perfectly fine because it's running the kernel and that has support for it.
I mean, I don't have that much budget to run a dual CPU server. I intend to run Arch Linux on a $5 DigitalOcean droplet, just to run a few of my Nginx instances and a Node.js application. That's it.
Then in that case, just use either Ubuntu server or CentOS.
Yeah.
Honestly, just use that.
Yeah, the point is my main workstation where I daily manage my packages, it's Manjaro. It's Pacman here, and it's APT there. The packages that I install here, the names are different over there. So I get a little bit confused with all that stuff. So
right. And I completely get that. I've dealt with that. It's just that's not the purpose. It's just
so why don't you do it, Vasanth, and then just let us know how you make out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree.
By the way, Silent Robot in the chat said using Arch as a server is like using an anvil as a parachute.
So anyway, Vasanth, like I said, you try it and you let us know how you make out.
You wouldn't
let us know when that anvil drops.
Yeah, sure.
On that note,
In the next stream, in the next live stream, I'll have a report.
All right.
About how Arch
we need to pick a distro for next week. So, Peter, you suggested.
Let me pronounce it. Michael Catanel will probably get me for the mispronunciation, but Makulu.
Makulu Linux.
Makulu Linux.
Yeah, I saw the video on it. It's
Toss recently reviewed it. It looked very interesting. It says Core is a Makulu Core. Core is a very modern OS, a dual menu, dual dock, mouse-driven gesture OS.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tyler, what were you going to say?
Be everything to everybody. Is that what's going on there?
Oh,
Tyler.
What about
I was just
Enzo?
saying, I saw the video that was on their website. It's quite fascinating, a lot of the choices they've made.
Yeah, it's definitely a very heavily modified XFCE, I believe.
We've already done Enzo.
And it's just been released.
Yeah.
So
yeah, what about Enso Linux?
We
already
just did
we
that.
already did Enso.
Crash and burn.
Okay.
I think I looked at Makulo too, Rocco. I think the dual purpose of that was mainly, I think, originally, excuse me, addressing both desktop PC, but people with touch screens and tablets. The gesture menu driving is extremely customizable. It's very cool looking. But yeah, it's in addition to the Core OS functionality.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I have a suggestion.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know that Makulo just came out, and that is a perfectly good choice. But we did try Gecko Linux the one time, but I don't believe we've tried OpenSUSE as a challenge.
Okay. I have an
You're
interesting.
gonna make Cubicle Nate so happy.
Okay.
Yes.
And the reason I say that is because Jason Evangelo switched the elementary user group or added a OpenSUSE Linux group for his challenge for the month for OpenSUSE. So in the effort of community, I think it'd be awesome if we did a OpenSUSE challenge as well, and kind of collaborated with them on what we're doing, and we can post the Telegram group as well.
I was going to say,
Yes. Can I join the Telegram group? Can I join the Telegram group?
Yes.
Yes.
What were you going to say, Matt?
Which one
Hold
did
on,
Jason?
Vincent, hold on.
Which one did Jason end up choosing? Did he go with Tumbleweed?
I was just going to ask that.
I don't remember.
I think Leap probably be the better choice on that.
No, he went with Tumbleweed.
He did.
I'm saying for this challenge, I was thinking Leap probably would be yeah, but if we're gonna do it, I think we should do the one that they're doing.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
Or we could make it user choice.
We could make it user choice. I mean, if you want, but like I said, the idea would be to make it a.
I think this is the one time we don't do the user choice thing. Like,
because like Lubuntu we're doing for before feedback. We all did Lubuntu pretty much the same thing to give some solid feedback for that too. Remember when it was first coming out, the recent release. So
yep. What were you gonna say, Barb?
Okay, with OpenSUSE, when I used Gecko, I chose Tumbleweed, and I am not normally a rolling release person, I think, as most people know. But I found that it was extremely stable. You just had more, you had a more up-to-date kernel, you had more up-to-date, software packages and stuff. But they do a good job of making sure that it's stable before they release it. So I don't know. It doesn't matter to me, but I was just wanted to let you guys know that from experience. I like
Nate says the challenge is Tumbleweed.
Okay.
But he also recommends user choice. But the challenge is Tumbleweed.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with Matt that I think that if this is the one time it shouldn't be user choice. It should just be let's try Tumbleweed along with the rest of the challenge that's out there, because like I said, we can try Makulu next week.
Wow, that keyboard.
Do we got some keycaps?
I had those keycaps made a few years ago.
On the DE then.
I second Rocco on the doing the one that they're doing for the OpenSUSE challenge.
I third.
Me too.
Second, third, fourth, fifth.
Okay.
The question is, do we
Me
want to
too.
limit the DE, or do we want, again, user's choice? I mean, default for OpenSUSE is KDE. So.
The installer lets you choose. So
the installer lets you choose.
A couple of people, Bradley in chat. I don't know if there's if they just went with a default or if they had a user choice where they could do whatever they wanted as far as desktop.
From what it looked like on the pictures I've seen on Twitter from Jason, it looked like he went with KDE or Plasma, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
Yeah.
The one time I tried, the one time I tried OpenSUSE Tumbleweed, I don't think, it was the rolling release edition of OpenSUSE. I just installed the system. I type in zipper, and it says command not found. That's it. Within the next few minutes, I had Manjaro back again.
You might. Did you misspell zipper? Because zipper spelled with a Y.
Yeah.
No,
It's
ZYPPER.
ZYPER.
Right, 2-piece.
Yeah, 2-piece. I had the 2-piece. I typed in 2-piece. I even went into YAST configuration manager, the EST, and it failed to get the repositories. I had a perfect internet connection. I had Firefox, I think, as my default browser. I checked my internet connection. Everything works perfect. And that...
Try EST?
Yeah.
Yeah, he said
This is why we do the challenge.
Yeah.
That's why I'm into the challenge, so that I could get OpenSUSE working on my system. If I get OpenSUSE, the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna switch my workstation to OpenSUSE, because I love it how they do things. But I couldn't get it.
But then you're gonna have to install OpenSUSE on your server, dude.
Oh.
Or no, you'll have to do the commercial version of
Why?
Which
the OpenSUSE
Can't we do the-
does not have a claim default.
Okay. Can't we do the OpenSUSE?
Hold on, Basant. What did you say, Peter?
I said Nate in chat says that OpenSUSE doesn't have a claim default DE.
Okay.
I've always had Plasma come up whenever I've installed it. So
I thought you had a
choice. There's a menu you choose.
I thought you had a choice of what you wanted to install, and I personally don't care what DE you pick. That I don't think is an issue, but I do think that we should stick with the Tumbleweed.
My question is, what is OpenSUSE's purpose?
To be the best distro ever. Oh wait, that was Nate's, not mine.
OpenSUSE is a shoot off of what was Novell. SUSE bought Novell and using the technology running on top of Linux.
Okay. I've never tinkered with OpenSUSE, so I don't know.
It's actually a pretty nice system.
So up until fall of 2017, OpenSUSE was my distro of choice. It was for a good 4.5 years. Hence why I've got the keycaps, the stickers on my old ThinkPad.
I'm telling you, man, if I could replace this Windows key on my computer, I would definitely put an Ubuntu one on there. Or at least just like
we got a guy that's 3D printing right here. We can 3D print it.
You're making us new keycaps.
Yeah.
On my laptop, I do have a fancy logo.
Send me a mold of the keycaps that I will print.
Awesomeness.
I can print a Beetle keycap.
The deciding factor. James, are you going to try it?
Yes.
I was going to say,
Don't twist his arm.
I mean, my God.
I'll
It's
do
okay
it
if you don't.
in a VM. I'll do it in a VM. How about
There
that?
you go.
Better than nothing.
though I'm not going to lie, that download's pretty hefty for 4.7 gigs.
Yeah.
Taking a little bit.
It's
Yeah, but you can do the net install if you want.
That's almost as big as
Worse
Windows.
than Fedora. So
Actually, I think that the net install is what, if I remember reading right from Jason's post, that's what he ended up doing is the net install.
Ooh, I like net installs.
So
I've actually never done a net install.
I'm just gonna grab the full DVD image like I used to.
Yeah, me too.
I'm gonna be perfectly honest though. Every time I've tried to install OpenSUSE, I have not had a good time. It's usually ended up with me just saying next.
You didn't know
usually...
Cubicle Nate then.
I didn't. So you're right.
We'll try to default your file systems to Btrfs though, so watch out for that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I'll be sticking with the ext4. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's what I typically do too.
I would choose a different file.
I was going to say, Rocco, hope you don't have any RAID 5 or 6.
I don't.
My root partition is so small, snapshots just fill it up that quickly, and my home partitions are already formatted ext4. So
So Bradley in chat says from Jason's article, you're also free to choose whichever desktop environment you prefer during installation. So that's a confirmation there. And Silent, I'm sorry, Gecko does not count because we already did Gecko. So.
What desktop environments do they have available upon installation?
I think it's just gonna. I think you have a choice of GNOME and KDE or
Or
I
custom.
think there's a third one.
Yeah, Cubicle Nate said custom is also an option, which I don't know what that involves, but he said there is the third option, custom.
I think all that does is allow you to pick what packages you want to bring in. So if you have a development system, you're going to bring in things like Perl and Python and stuff like that. If you have an Office system, it's going to allow you to bring in Office, LibreOffice, etc. Yeah.
What's up,
Nate?
Okay, I think you can install just about any desktop that you are used to or you like or whatever. And you can get those you should be able to get them from the YAST repositories, through YAST. Because I was reading something somewhere about, people installing Mate or whatever. But the default is, I think, KDE and GNOME. But you can install other desktops.
I already have XS3C installed on Tumbleweed.
Nate's saying don't choose GNOME right now in chat for some reason. He didn't explain why, but
KDE on SUSE is really nice. They do a really good job with KDE.
Yeah. Years ago, they did the best KDE implementation out there.
Hey, Mark,
none.
They're going to have a feature that Dolphin currently doesn't have in other KDE distros.
Open as root, baby. KDE was an awesome implementation for OpenSUSE, and I did run the OpenSUSE version for, I would say, probably 6 months, and but I haven't tried it in so long because every time I went to try it, I couldn't get it installed, or I didn't have a network connection, or all kinds of issues with the
So
hopefully,
in fairness, Rocco, that's kind of your shtick, though, to begin with.
Stop it, Matt. Stop it.
You always have problems installing
Somebody's
stuff.
got to have that.
My past experience has been, KDE4, when they were in the KDE4 days, OpenSUSE had the best KDE4 implementation. It's what drew me to OpenSUSE in the first place 6 years ago. With the Plasma 5, they've been sticking mostly to defaults these days. Last I used it.
They had such polish on that, though, that it was, I think, more stable than any other KDE distro out there. So,
right.
Yeah, I can't wait. All right.
In fact, I already downloaded it.
Uh-oh. Well, I can't download it. The stream might suffer. Just saying.
Nope, I just downloaded it.
I'm
3
downloading
minutes.
it right now.
It's done.
All right, so I got a question. Yesterday, February 1st, was National Change Your Password Day.
Oh.
Today was Groundhog Day.
So, how many people changed their passwords yesterday?
Probably should do that with the recent.
Different systems.
Not me.
You probably should anyway, because there was a major email breach recently.
Yeah.
Which breached about 2.2 billion different emails and passwords.
So I'm probably going to switch to Bitwarden.
Bitwarden's a great choice.
I used LastPass.
Same here.
Bitwarden's a great choice.
Yeah.
Pass.
Self-hosted Bitwarden is even better.
I just keep it all in my head.
When I bring that up, I'm not suggesting that you go and change every one of your passwords on because that would be ridiculous. But you should probably check your passwords. Be a good time to do it. Just saying.
And enable two-factor authentication.
You know what the problem is with Bitwarden and password managers is, for me at least, I have so many passwords in there, it's not even funny. And I have multiple passwords because they've been updated, and every time you update your password, it'll say, do you want to update this password? And I say, sure, that's great. But a lot of times it'll make a dual entry. So then I have like 4 different passwords of the same site, and then I got to figure out which one the new one is. And it's like a big storage drawer that gets full of junk, and you don't know how to. You just gotta dump it out and start all over again.
I have somewhere near 10,000 passwords in my LastPass account. Somewhere near 10,000. of different websites, including Microsoft developer community, the Visual Studio Online community, and the AUR, the Arch User Repository login credentials. Everything from Linux, Windows, Google, my website, my personal server, everything is dumped in there. And as far as password management is concerned, LastPass actually handles it pretty good if you just have a little bit of patience. My only problem is if for some reason, and I have a ridiculous 500 character master password for LastPass. And that password I have actually written in a book, so it's actually a bit less secure when you have a ridiculously long password for as a master password. Otherwise, LastPass is actually very good at managing different revisions, different updates to the same user account. The only thing is you got to click update. And for me, I don't know why, but it doesn't make duplicates. It just updates the one.
What's everybody else use? Any other choices besides Bitwarden and LastPass?
I got the best advice.
KeePass at work, yeah.
I just handle it all in my head.
What's James?
Oh, there's this comedian who got tired of trying to remember his. So he changed his password to forgot your password because it's on every site. I think it's genius. Just do it.
All right, so we got Bitwarden, we got LastPass, we got KeePass. Anything else you guys use?
The Chrome's built-in password manager sometimes.
Don't ever use the built-in.
Don't ever use built-in.
Yeah.
If you're worried about your privacy and security, don't use the built-in.
I mean, you can use whatever you want. I'm just saying you shouldn't.
No. The sites which have which I store passwords are temporary websites that which I don't care after some time. They are going to be stored in Chrome's storage. All others, I separately store them. But I think there is another password manager which was actually good, and I don't remember the name of it.
I think Gideon uses some sort of password manager that he's able to use his PGP key to encrypt. I don't remember exactly what it was. He encrypts everything with that.
Anyway, I would suggest that I know that it gets overlooked a lot, but I would suggest would be a good time, maybe this weekend even, to check out your passwords, update them, clean them out. You know, not every one of them, but just take a good security check, because you can never be too safe with those.
Yep.
And how? Yeah, okay.
Go ahead.
How can I join the Telegram group? Because I never used the Telegram.
I'm glad you asked, because I'm going to tell everybody.
Yes,
you can join the Telegram group.
That's how you can join the Telegram group.
www.bigdaddylinux.com/telegram.
That's
that's so cool. That's so cool. But I want to know how you have configured the links to Big Daddy Linux. I want to do that for my website too. That Zoom, and then the Telegram, and then dynamic linking that you have been doing for your Big Daddy Linux.
I can't tell you that's a trade secret.
Yeah.
301 redirects. That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
The truth is, he doesn't know.
I don't.
I was going to say, truth is, he has Michael fix it.
It just magically happens. You know, funny you mentioned that, because he has done that for me once in a while. I was thinking, Michael, can you help me with this? Okay.
All you need is just one variable and that have it changing everything.
Yeah, but that is a cool thing. Now, I definitely don't have as many as, touchdill.com/1. I don't have that many links, but yeah, there are a few links that, like the Discord, Big Daddy Linux /Discord, take you to the Discord channel as well. But anyway, the last thing I wanted to get on before we have to say goodbye is anybody interested in, because I found it pretty interesting, was the Pine tablet.
Yeah,
I heard about
I'm interested in all their new
That
stuff.
would be interesting.
At $79, I think that's impulse buy territory to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think there's a good tablet solution for Linux.
Not yet.
So it would be good if it caught on, I think.
The only issue that I have, The only thing that I have with it that I don't like is it doesn't quite have the amount of power I would need, because I deal with tablets with about that amount of power, and it drives me insane.
Matt, have you checked out the specs?
Tablet.
It's basically what the current Pine Book is, just in a tablet form. As far as
So how does that compare to other tablets like the Fire
it's
or
it's
anything
2
like
gigs.
that?
It'd be 2 gigs of RAM. It'd be like a phone from like 2 years ago, or a mid-tier phone.
Right.
So it's like two.
But for $79.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, keep it realistic. I mean, it's a $79 tablet.
Right.
It should be mandatory to have one at this price. But what I was
Go ahead,
what I was
Yannick.
going to say is that once again we're probably not the target audience for that. I mean, we like to have powerful machines, but it's another way to put Linux in the hands of people who have a Windows computer, and we can tell them, hey, look at that, it's Linux, it's on the tablet, it's nice, and then try to switch them on their main computer.
Well, see, here's the one thing that we always complain about. You know, we complain about OEMs like System 76 and Zauriz and these guys being too expensive. So when these guys put out something that's mass tablet market-wise, we should be eating that up like no tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That form factor that you can, I mean, it's a tablet, so you're going to be browsing the web on it, checking your email, stuff like that. It doesn't take a lot of horsepower to get that done. And if you had to occasionally drop down into a terminal or something, you could. And I think that's perfect.
I also have two concerns with this. So if you look at one of the articles, it says that the Pine Book will have a USB 2 port, and it will have an available keyboard that connects using something that uses USB 2. What gets me is, will that keyboard be attaching using something else that just uses the USB 2 protocol, or will it be connecting using that actual USB 2 port? Because when I'm using it, I want that USB 2 port free. The other thing is, so my tablet here has an actual USB 2 port on the top. I don't know if you can see that, but yes, I have a USB 2 port. And the problem with this is I can only have one device plugged in at a time. I can't even use a dongle. It will not allow me to do something like that. So will the Pine Book allow you to have multiple devices plugged in through a dongle? If it can, then I would love to try it.
Have you tried a powered hub? Sometimes that makes a difference when they only have one port and they're powered.
So it's locked down within Android in my tablet to where you can only have one thing plugged in at a time. I'll give you an example. So I have a wireless keyboard touchpad combo that goes to one USB dongle. I can plug that in, and it'll be fine. I also have a flash drive that I can use USB or a micro USB. And this tablet charges via micro USB, so I could plug in both at the same time. But if I do that, whichever one was plugged in first is the one it will recognize, and it will completely ignore the other one. So,
Steve, Thomas likes to buy things that are really locked down.
No, I do not. This thing was actually a freebie, believe it or not.
Like your laptop.
No, my laptop is actually the most expensive thing I ever bought, and this is my baby.
Which is locked
down. In all fairness, it was $100 off what it normally is, and I was trading. God, what was it? I was trading off like 4 gigabytes of RAM for a better graphics card. So, can you blame me? Considering I have the most powerful laptop probably in my entire city.
All right.
Does it have wobbly windows?
No, because I disabled them.
Anybody else want to mention the tablet or anything? Ivan, is that something that you would be interested in, a Linux tablet?
I would, and I've been looking for an option for a long time. Well, just last 2 years.
I wonder if it would run UB ports.
But no, that's fine. Actually, I was looking into that option because I like that project, and that'll be really interesting if you could get it to work on that. But I don't know. I mean, I really think that there's a market for it, and there are several regular, even home users who would really enjoy to have the power of Linux into a tablet.
And that's what I'm
Scott,
gonna
what
be.
do you think?
Well, I don't use a tablet very often, but if I were going to use a Pine tablet or something like that, one feature it would have to have is pre-installed with VirtualBox, so that I can plug a USB into it and install any OS into a VirtualBox, so I could use it that way.
That would murder it.
I was going to say there's not going to be enough power in that machine for you to do that.
Well, there's probably not, but I don't have much use for a tablet anyway. So if I can't do that,
I think it would just be a. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. That's fine.
I just think it would just be a fun device to have.
I agree.
As like what Matt said, it's definitely a $79 impulse buy. And I would like to see a real Linux tablet. I mean, that is something I would really like. And if they pull it off, hey, that's okay. But I wouldn't expect it to be my daily driver.
the thing is with a tablet, it's smaller than a laptop and it's bigger than a cell phone, but that's an $80 to $100 bounce test just dying to happen.
I'm sorry for cutting you off, Michael. What were you going to say?
I was going to say that I'm going to be curious how it handles the distro, that whatever distro is run on it, because we've talked about other tablets that are similar spec, but they've all been running Android, and we know Android's bloated at this point.
Well, I was going to say they already optimized KDE Neon for it, so it's one of the distros that run natively for the generic Pinebook currently.
Nice. Okay.
So it'll be available later this year. So I mean, I don't know. I can't wait because I think it's awesome.
If only I had USB 3.
I was going to say, as somebody who's done the tablet versions of other tablets like Surface Pro and stuff with Linux, I actually want to see a Linux design tablet to start.
Yeah.
Not me putting a different OS on a completely different piece of hardware.
Right.
I agree.
Something more native.
Now if we can just figure out how to flash it to put any distro we want on it.
Yeah.
It won't take
Start compiling.
Give it 2
What
weeks.
does it come with by default? What operating system does it come with by default? Did you say?
I'm guessing it's probably going to be KDE Neon because that's what the normal Pinebook, I believe, ships with.
And I think that's what I read pretty much. Yeah.
And that would be fine.
Mhm.
Yeah, that'd be
That'd be a good start.
Because then you can.
Now if they put the Plasma mobile version of it on, that I'm really interested because that's more touch design and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, well, keep in mind you're also bringing out a cell phone.
Exactly.
Nice.
Michael, who is?
Pine. Pine is bringing out a cell phone, and they're bringing out a $199 laptop as well.
Yep.
I seen the laptop come.
That phone is what I
149 cell
play
phone.
with.
Talk about that today too.
Huh. Well, there you go. Maybe
the
we
phone,
can
I
have
think,
Linux
is
on all of the
$149.
devices.
Yeah, Michael
That would
added them
just
all
be
up and said it was like $430. Get you the whole suite.
Well, I was
going
gonna say, you know, Michael's not gonna spend that. So.
No, but you get all free. That's not bad.
All right. Well, I think our time is up, so we are going to shut it down now. And
I got back just in time. In other words,
you did. So our challenge for this week is OpenSUSE, Tumbleweed, and distro of your choice. So there you go.
Distro of your choice.
DE of your choice. Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you, Thomas.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. I did something right for once.
Matt, last word.
I'm just excited to see where this challenge goes. Honestly, I think it'll be a great contribution overall to what they're looking to do. I think what Jason's doing is awesome. To be brutally honest.
Agreed. Totally agree. Vasanth, last word.
Arch Linux server.
Let us know how you make it.
Single-minded.
Dan, last word.
Thanks as always, Rocco, for hosting us, and it's been good. Look forward to the challenge.
Awesome. Barb?
I still want a Linux tablet, and the the Pine tablet looks intriguing. Impulse buy.
Uh-huh. Glad you made it for the last word, Barb.
Thank you. Usually I'm too tired and I leave.
Peter.
Although I've been using Linux for well over 10 years and consider myself a tinkerer, I have learned so much from this group in Telegram over the last 2 months. It's amazing. So thank you all, and I hope everyone who watches learns a lot more too.
Very nice. Colin?
Well, it looks like I'll be stumbling around this week, Rocco. I'm looking forward to installing Tumbleweed because I've only messed around with OpenSUSE just a couple of times in my Linux life, so don't really know much about it. So this could be an interesting week. And thanks for putting on the show again, Rocco. Great stuff. Enjoy the chats always.
Okay, rolling on. Joe, last word.
Well, I'm trying to install it right now as we talk, but you always say the best things in life are free, and Linux happens to be one of those best things as far as I'm concerned, even with all its little, let's call them little issues, because there's nothing out there that's perfect. So I think this is really nice to have this choice available. And if that Pine book or Pine tablet has any kind of legs to it, man, that's a huge breakthrough. And thanks for having me again.
Tyler?
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to try OpenSUSE again. It's been about 1.5 years, but before that, I used it for 4.5 years. And lastly, Joe, get rid of that Packers hoodie.
Yeah. Oh, this is the championship one too. So that was, even though it was in the past, it's still, they got there.
He's rubbing it in.
Yeah.
All right, Michael, last word.
Yeah, thanks for the stream as always. And I am just preparing for the NVIDIA driver battle that is OpenSUSE.
Tell me about it. Don't remind me. Yannick, last word.
Thanks for the show, Rocco. And there's no shame in using a non-customizable distro if that's what you like.
Steve, last word.
Thanks, Rocco, for my weekly lug fix once again. Glad I could jump back on the live stream for a week after not being here for a while. And I'm actually kind of more interested in those Pine single board computers that they have. Those are pretty cool looking too.
Very nice. Good to have you back, Steve. Thomas, last word.
All right. Well, thank you for having me on again. It's been a pleasure. I enjoy it every week. Also, check out DruggerOS at druggeros.ml. We just had a beta 2 release on Wednesday. Finally.
Oh, that's right. We were supposed to talk about that tonight, weren't we?
It's all right. Give me like 2 minutes next week, and I'll be fine.
Rocco, he's taking lessons from Michael.
I know. All right, Ivan, last word.
Thank you guys, all of you, for having me. It's always a pleasure. It's really nice. I appreciate what you do with the live stream, and I'll be trying to rock Tumbleweed. I know it's hard, and I have done it just once so far, but I'm ready to try it out and see what comes up with the KDE option.
Very nice. Well, it's good to have you, man, and you're welcome every week.
Appreciate it.
All right, Scott, last word.
Great show as always, Rocco. And if anybody does actually get a Linux operating system working on a tablet, here's mine. Oh, gosh, look at that. You can't even see the lined paper. That's my tablet.
I think Chicken's here somewhere.
Yeah, really. Anyway, just to back up really quick, as far as the show goes, the Parrot, I just discovered while we were having the show, the kernel panic issues. I was using version 4.50, and I popped over to the website, and apparently within the last week, they've done an update to 4.51, which I downloaded and installed without an issue.
during the stream.
During the stream. So I'm not sure what bug was in there that didn't play well with my particular system. It obviously plays well with others, but whatever it was updated, it worked beautifully and it's installed, and now I'm looking forward to playing with that. On the topic of Linux itself, I just want the whole audience to know, and anybody that watches the stream and whether they participate or not, that Linux is a code that allows for and expects creative diversity, understanding that as a result there's going to be an incredibly wide variety of customizations. I think this lends itself to developers using the code to create an OS that's based on their specific goals, and this can be anything from strictly functional to strictly security, strictly aesthetics, and any number of combination of those, which I think that's the beauty of Linux. This is something I think that everybody should embrace, is this freedom to try out different Linux distributions to find one that suits your particular goals and needs and whatnot. So don't be afraid. I want to say don't be afraid of trying others, but if you find one that you like and you stick to it, nothing wrong with that. That's the big thing about Linux and what's so great about it. So keep on rocking, Rocco.
Dig it. James, last word.
I can't believe you got me.
I love it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I love it.
I'm actually kind of looking forward to it. I have my first distro was SUSE 9.3. I still have those ISOs. So if anybody wants to try that out for distro challenge,
upload it to somewhere and I'll try it out.
All right. Yeah. So I'm looking you better have some old hardware, that's for sure. So anyways, yeah, this has been fun. Thanks for putting on the show, Rocco. It was really cool.
Prophetic, last word.
Just hear my son.
Awesome.
Nice. What a cutie.
His first words already.
Bill?
Something about nice. No, he said something about try Puppy Linux.
I knew you had to say that. Try.
I don't know. It might be a sign.
It may be a sign. I'm just saying.
Thanks for a great show. Thanks for everybody, and looking forward to rolling with Tumbleweed this week.
There you go. Obi-Wan, last word.
These are not distros you're looking for. Anyhow, yeah, I don't know what happened there. I think Dropbox was taking over the disk for whatever reason. I had to reboot. But anyhow, I've been using OpenSUSE for a little while and as a secondary OS, mostly with my LPIC studies. So this will be fun using Tumbleweed. I've been using Leap, so moving over to the other side be interesting.
Awesome.
Prophetic. Right. We heard what he said. That funny.
Yeah. All right. I do want to thank Dan for helping me out tonight in Zeb's absence. So I appreciate that.
Go on you, Dan.
Anytime.
And I would also like to thank Jason for all of the work he's done in the community. And this is exactly why I wanted to do the OpenSUSE challenge, because it is about the community. Shikin wrote an article last week about how the community has come together over this whole elementary thing. And I think if we can continue that and pull together, I think it will be an awesome step forward for us. So I appreciate you guys agreeing to do the OpenSUSE challenge. All right, that's going to wrap it up this week. We're going to try it out. You can check us out in the Telegram group, bigdatalinux.com/Telegram, and let us know how you make out during the week. Otherwise, see you next week.
See you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See ya.